He's very good at this stuff.
Yeah, I've had to do a lot through ESF over the past 2 years, so it's
We use it for work, but we don't have anything too official. We just say, can you hear us? Okay, let's get going.
Yep.
Okay, Frank, you're good to go.
Okay. And I apologize if you're looking at the side of my head. A lot of my stuff's on my other screen, but I'm trying to look ahead. So happy New Year, everybody.
I got relegated to my son's bedroom, so.
Yeah, I like it, Stan. I love the
Frank, there you
wood
go.
on the ceiling. Really nice. Oh yeah, beautiful. Wow. So we have a new member. First topic on the agenda is to welcome Adam. So Adam comes to us from, where are you, out by Waterville Road? Adam?
Yep, right on end of Ridge Road. I just recently purchased the old sawmill, so I'm there now.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of sad. That's kind of been fun for me driving to work every day, seeing what they're doing there every day. And would they retire?
Yep, he decided to shut down, and I think he's just turned 70 or 71, and he said he'd had enough.
Had enough of it. Great.
Yeah.
Do you mind giving us a little bit of your background and how you came to join the ECC?
Yeah, not at all. So I grew up in Pompey here, went to FP, graduated there in 2010. And I know a handful of you guys from, around the town over the years, or at least have heard your name at the very least. Renee asked me to be on the committee a couple weeks ago. She knew my background at ESF, which is where I went to undergrad and grad school for landscape architecture, community planning, and regional planning. Did a couple internships reviewing environmental impact statements. And my family owns Green Effects Landscaping and Nursery, which is right here on Route 20 as well. A flower farm and nursery in the greenhouses that you guys probably see if you drive out this way. Like I said, I just bought the house next door, so continuing to live here, and looking forward to, working with you guys and with the town board on making sure that we keep our little corner of the world, in good condition.
Great. Yeah. That's awesome, Adam. It's nice to have a young person on board, other than myself.
Experience is good too, so it's all important.
Yeah.
Welcome, Adam. I love your flowers in the mason jar you sell there. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's taken off the past year or so, and we're really enjoying having that as well.
Hi, Adam. I'm Martha Viglietta. I live over on Gibbs Road. Did you say you're on Watervale?
We're just west of Watervale, so at the very end of Ridge Road on Route 20 in the big brown. That's next. Used to be a sawmill right next door. So my parents live in that brown house, and
all right.
now live in the house that used to be the sawmill.
You live in the sawmill?
There's a house that's all you can see from the road is a big garage door, and that's a big workshop out front, but there's a whole house upstairs.
Ah, wow. Okay.
Yep.
And your folks next door, they have the solar array?
Yes. Yep. The solar panels, I think, 4 years ago now. My parents' property. They actually are in the process of putting up a barn, which will help with storage and operation of the nursery and our landscaping company.
Nice.
Adam, just tell everybody you live in Arnie Bumpus's old house.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That'll be the tagline for sure.
Let's keep going around the horn and everybody can introduce themselves to Adam.
You want me to go, Frank?
Sure, Stan.
Adam Stanley Gorman, chief cook and bottle washer at the Pompey Club. So a little bit about turf grass. I got involved with the ECC because I've been involved with the Tower Overlay District on Sevier Road. and there's also one over towards Casanova. So I was asked to be on the committee for my involvement, and that's been 25 plus years, and just have the town of Pompey at heart, like you say, make our little corner of the world a little better place. So welcome aboard.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Phil, you want to say hi?
Sure, yeah. Hi, Adam. Welcome to our committee here. We've known each other for quite a few years. So we've seen you. We've been to different sporting events and other school events quite a bit. So yeah, welcome to the committee. But I asked to join. Actually, I asked Renee to join a couple of years ago, kind of for the same reason as Stan and you said. Is like, Pompey, the town of Pompey is a beautiful place, and that's one of the reasons we moved here many years ago, because of the beauty and the wildlife, the scenery, and we just want to try to help preserve it that way. Realizing there has to be development as well, but try to do everything together in concert so that you can have both. You can have economic development, but you can still preserve the natural beauty of the area as well. So welcome aboard.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil.
And Craig,
Welcome, Adam. My name's Craig Dennis. I got a small dairy farm at the corner of Route 20 and Gulf Road. I've been a lifelong resident of the area for only 58 years is all. I've been on the committee 12 years.
yeah, great. Thanks, everybody. And for me, Adam, I am an environmental engineer by trade and love the town, just like everyone else said. So we knew each other back when you were playing Little League baseball and so forth. So remember you and your dad.
Should have played golf.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
better on your knees. So yeah, I've been on the committee for many years, and then they asked me to become the chair when someone else stepped down, and I obliged. I think that the one thing I'd like to say is we've changed course, hopefully, with this new committee, in that in the past, we used to primarily review applications that came before the board and put in our spin from an environmental perspective. And Renee has kind of been leading the charge. She would like us to do more than that. So we would not meet every week or every month rather, unless there was a topic, but we're trying to change all that. And as you see from the agenda, we're trying to come up with some ideas as to what can we be doing? What are other communities doing? What is Casanova doing? What is Nelson doing? So forth and so on. So, we're all on the same team here. I'm just here to facilitate conversation. I'm by no means the leader. So, everybody's ideas are welcomed. So, but yeah, we're glad to have you. If I stick to the agenda here, is it worth looking at the charter? Did you look at the charter, Adam? You've seen it?
Yeah. Oh, I looked through it. Yeah.
Okay. What does the rest of the group think? Want to look at that quick, or
The purpose would be what, Frank?
just to look at our charter and refresh our memories? I don't know, maybe I hit some highlights.
Well, Frank, when I looked at it, it talks about everything is going towards the planning board. I think we can add the town board to maybe some of our recommendations. And not just the planning board. That goes back to your point where you were talking about, well, the ECC would look at applications that were submitted. I think looking at this, it talks about maintaining an up-to-date inventory, man-made natural features. I think I'm trying to do some of that on the tower, but open spaces, public, private. So when you get into this, there's actually a lot in here that you might be able to take the initiative to do.
Okay, yeah. But I tried to share my screen, or is anybody seeing it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay. So, and we're not gonna go through this whole thing, but I sent it along so you can look through it, and it's like Stan said. We can all get a copy of this. I believe you can get any of this stuff on the website, you guys. So it's available to you. One,
I mean, it's right there, like in A, it talks about, with regards to this, the stuff that I highlighted, threats posed to environmental quality, conduct inventories, natural man-made. C, conduct up-to-date inventories, index all open spaces. I think this thing you also sent from the Conservation Advisory Council talks about that.
and that's what this was based off of too, Stan.
Right.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Can you
When we
guys see
started-
the screen and read it?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Stan. You said when we started.
Well, it just, when we start talking, I mean, it talks about wetlands. I know the planning board had a solar application in front of them that got declined. But I think it was more based on usable farmland, and that's why they turned it down. And I know the solar overlay district law was written with a lot of provisions in it to give the town board a little bit more leverage in terms of determining what they want to do. But when you start talking about, wetlands and stuff like that, I know where the proposed solar overlay district has wetlands on it. So, I mean, does that need to be taken into consideration, or do we need to get them that kind of information so that they can make informed decisions?
Those are things that I do have on the agenda, I would say generally. So
All right.
I think that's exactly what we'd like to be doing. Is just looking at that. The inventory and
Question.
so forth. Go ahead, Greg.
How does would a solar array in a wetland hurt the wetland?
I don't know.
Just the pure fact that you have to go in there and construct it in the wetland, you're going to disturb it. And, at least in our business, you can't build anything in a wetland.
Even if you're just driving a post in the ground?
Even driving a post in the ground, working for utility, if we put a utility pole in a wetland, we needed to get a wetland permit to do that.
Right. Anything that you would construct in there would require,
But it can be done.
it can be
If you
done.
get the-
It can
if
be
you get-
done.
If you get the permits, yes, you have to get the wetland permits to do it. And if the DEC will give you the permit.
And there's a whole bunch of, Adam may even be able to speak to it, but there's a whole bunch of regulations depending on if it's a federal wetland or a state wetland. If it's connected to certain water bodies and so forth, so that it gets pretty involved, but not to say that you cannot build in a wetland. With many of our projects, we've taken parts of wetlands and filled them in and so forth. So following the agenda, in the past year, we celebrated Arbor Day / Earth Day by the tree handout. And I think everybody's in favor of doing that again. Is that true?
Yes, I
Sure.
agree.
Yeah, I think it went off pretty good and everybody.
Hey, Frank,
Yeah.
I guess, last year we had talked about, and there was a response when we were talking, there were a lot of people that were willing to donate money to buy trees, myself included, through the Pompey Club. In terms of this year, I don't know how many trees, did we have enough to make it all the way to the end? Do we want to look at getting more this year? And do we want to look at sponsorships? Or just, people not necessarily sponsorships, but just willing to donate money to buy more trees?
I think all of the above, Stan.
Okay,
Last year we did 500 trees, just to fill you in, Adam. So we agreed as a group to purchase some trees from Saratoga Nursery. And then we offered them to the folks that came up to the town hall. I was away at the time, but maybe Phil or somebody can speak to it better, but I believe they were taking mattresses or, various
Scrap, like
items,
scrap metal, yeah.
scrap and so forth. And so we set up a table for the ECC and we were giving away 5 trees as a starter, right? But we did 5 to each
Right.
person.
Right,
And
exactly.
some people
Yep.
got more and we really,
So-
it was a first time for us. We didn't know what to expect.
We
Did they
probably
just-
could have used more. Some people would have taken more than 5 trees. We ended up running out probably about 11:30 and the event ran from, I think it was 8 to 12 or 9 to 12. So we probably could have used a few more. So yes, having more this year would be good because then maybe we wouldn't need to limit it to 5 trees, or we could do 10 trees, something like that, or just make sure we don't run out, that type of thing. So I agree. Having more trees is a great idea.
What was the size that you guys did last year? Were they like whips or plugs or
They were
Large.
3-year-old.
3-year-old trees?
Yeah,
They were
so the DEC has these packets. I don't know if you've ever seen this, Adam.
Yeah, I have those ones. Okay.
Yep, so they're primarily 3-year-old seedlings and
I'm not to go too off topic. I probably should have said this when we started. My fiance is a DEC police officer as well. So as far as like state regulation stuff, that's like dinner table talk. So fairly
Yeah.
familiar with DEC specific stuff as well.
Right. What a great
Yeah.
resource.
Yep,
nice.
absolutely.
So that's where I don't know if you guys can read this, it's pretty small print, but we stuck with the coniferous trees up there. I think we did white spruce and white pine.
Right.
And I believe we did 250 of each.
Yep.
And they're fairly reasonable. You're talking $165 for 500 trees. And yeah, I footed the bill for that last year and I was happy to do it, but I love the idea. So, Dan, you're saying, what were your thoughts? Everybody's in favor of doing this again, and we're thinking 500 again, as it worked out pretty well last year. And it seems like it went right to the limit.
Well, I think we're saying to do more than 500 though, right?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it sounds like.
yeah,
You want to bump it up this year to 750 then?
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
think you could get rid of them pretty easy. I think people would take more than 5 if they could.
Well,
Yeah.
the point was to get trees planted in the community. I mean, planting trees is a great thing for the world in general. So, one thing we talked about last year, and I don't know, we didn't come up with a way to do it. I thought it was a decent idea to reach back out to the community of the people that did take trees and have them send us pictures or, I don't know how to do it on social media. So if other people have ideas, it would be great.
I can send you pictures of the ones I planted on my lawn.
Well, you know what I mean, Stan, if we gave out 500 trees, it'd be kind of funny to see the comments back. I don't know. how the
Well, I
town
think when
goes.
we did it, I mean, you talked about it and certainly I think I've done it, planting these trees with your kids. And the kids are, a little bit taller than the tree. And then, 10 years later, the trees are taller than everybody. And then you can, reminisce about the day you went and planted all these trees.
Right, yeah, I've planted thousands across the road on my property.
Right.
Much to my children's chagrin, actually. Because my 750 trees would arrive and they're like, Dad, your trees got here today. I'm like, oh, good, that's what we're doing this weekend. Like, no, no. So, but it is, just like you said, Stan, it's really neat. There's, some of those trees are 30 feet tall now. So,
Well, one of the things we could do is, if anybody has trees that they planted last year, we could just take a few pictures, a half a dozen people's trees. I know my daughter planted some. And, just maybe just do a printout and put them on a poster board at the pickup this year and just show people, this is what people planted last year and this is how they did. Because I think last year was a pretty wet year and I think a lot of people said they grew well. So, maybe we can just, publicize it that way a little bit, just right at the giveaway.
okay, so what are you guys thinking? White pine again and white spruce? Adam, you may have some input on this. This is what might do well.
Let me see. This is super small on my
Yeah,
screen.
I can zoom in. That better?
Hmm.
When do you have to order by, Frank?
Like
go.
really soon.
Nice.
They have, oops.
There we
Guys, can you read that better now?
Yeah. Do we want to stick with the evergreen?
Well, the hardwoods get more expensive, but
Mhm.
my experience personally with the hardwoods is they take a lot more dedication. Well, especially on my property, because the deer literally, it's a very expensive deer food. They literally chew them right down so that they can't grow. I don't know how they do it. I put, I don't know, 50 or 100 of them in, and I put a little orange flag next to each one. And I went over checking on them and they'd just be browsed right off to the root. I'm like, oh, wow, that's special.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Then let's stay with the evergreens then.
So, any thoughts, anybody, the white pine, white spruce? I have planted a lot of Doug fir across the road. People tell me it's not the right climate, not the right area for it, but they're doing really well. They're much slower growing than the other trees though.
I mean, in the opposite direction, I probably would prefer to stay away from the Norway spruces, but other than that, I don't have a specific preference.
Okay, so we all agree on 750. I guess want to go with the red pine, white pine and white spruce.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Okay,
Should we pass the hat for this? I'm very willing to kick in some money for this.
Same here.
Sure.
Mhm. Yep.
So it's,
I will also talk to the town and potentially, like you said, Stan, we could possibly solicit money. We don't, when we place the order, we don't necessarily have to pay. We place the order and then when they're ready to order, I'll have to double check my memory shot, but pretty sure I just ordered them last year over the phone. And then I sent them, as long as you send the money in before the ship date, then they ship them. So we'll figure that out. But I think last year, Stan, people were jumping on the bandwagon offering to pitch in. So that it's not a burden to any one person, that's all. Okay, so that sounds great, and we need to get that started ASAP, right? Because the availability, they go away quickly. So let me go back to the agenda. There we go. What else do we need on the trees? I want to say as we move forward, we'll set up the schedule similar to what we did last year. We can talk about this at the next meeting. We staffed it. What, 2 people for the first half of the morning and 2 for the rest? We'll figure all that stuff out, right?
Well, we also had, I forgot who brought instructions on how to care for them, how to plant them. We had instructions.
Pauline
Yeah.
put that together.
Yeah, I think Nikki printed them off and had them laminated, so we handed them out that day.
Oh, wow, that's, okay. And they are also on this website.
We probably have leftovers from last year, those laminated instructions.
Right, I bet.
And we
Well, that's
can,
awesome.
we can take the flyer, the advertising flyer from last year and just change a little bit and use that again. Nikki did
Okay.
that. I helped get those things together, but Nikki really was the one who put it all together on her computer and made it look beautiful.
Did you save a copy?
I'm sure Nikki's got it on her computer. She's got it. I don't know that I did.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was on the town of Pompey Facebook page. So if you scroll back into last year's post, it's probably on there.
okay, so who wants to take charge and be the one that sees the flyer through? Any
I did
volunteers?
that last year, so I can do it again this year.
Okay. So you'll coordinate with Nikki then, Martha.
Yeah.
Martha, do you want to ask her if she has any more of the instructions left, or do you want me to ask
I
her?
will, I'll ask her that. I'll ask her
Is-
that, Phil.
Yeah, as long as you're talking to her about the flyer, maybe just see if she has any more, and if not, maybe we can get a few more printed up. I'm not sure they need to be laminated, but I know they wanted to do it last year, so.
Yeah, there's a big discussion about the whole lamination issue
Yeah.
last year.
If they want to do it, go for it.
Somebody had a new lamination machine, I think.
Yeah, well, they
it's not
did
cheap.
come out nice, though. They did come out nice, and then they
They did, yeah.
get wet or crinkled up or something. So they did look nice.
Okay, what other items we have to think about for that? Not the date for Arbor Day, I put it on here somewhere, April 29th. And I believe I will maybe not be here again, so you guys have fun with that. I will.
Well, if I remember right, that was dependent on getting the trees too.
It was, and if it's really cold, that was a tough call. They literally arrived that week.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my son came over to the barn and grabbed them.
April 29th
Am I
is,
correct on that?
April 29th is a Friday.
Right, but I'm saying that weekend, somewhere around that time.
Yeah.
And who wants to track that down too, guys, as far as what the town is planning for Earth Day again this year? And having that scrapped, it makes sense to do it all that same day, right?
Yeah, I can do that because I'm gonna be talking to Nikki anyway.
Okay, thank you, Martha.
And it's Earth Day really, rather than Arbor Day, isn't it?
Earth Day, yes, and I don't know if the two coincide, but my plan, and when we set it up last year, was to do it on Arbor Day because what it is.
Yeah.
We said, well, we already have
Arbor
people
Day's in
going.
June, isn't it? Isn't Arbor Day in June now?
That's Google. Let me see. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but that's okay. We were going through what we did last year.
Yeah,
And
Earth
we
Day
did-
is Friday. First Earth Day is Friday, April 22nd.
Okay. And Arbor Day. you see that
And
there?
Arbor Day is Friday, April 29th.
Okay. So they're very close to each other.
Yes, it doesn't really matter, I imagine, Earth Day celebration, Earth Day stuff usually goes on all week long these days. So it doesn't really matter if we do it the Saturday at the beginning or the Saturday at the end of that. As far as giving the nursery time to get the trees to us, does it make sense to do it on the later Saturday?
It does. So the way they work it is they determine when the planting's going to be right based on what's going on with the weather in the area that they're shipping them to, and that's when they
Oh.
ship. So
Oh.
if the frost isn't on the ground and they don't think you can plant, they're not going to ship them. You can't say, hey, I want these by, May 15th, because
Ah.
they may send them on April 15th.
So if they send them on April 15th, but we're doing it on April 30th, is that a problem?
No, they'll keep for a little while, and Pauline can speak better to it, but in my personal experience, they've kept fairly well. If you keep them in that bag and keep them out of the sunlight and don't let them dry out, they do okay for a week or so. Much more than that, then they get stressed.
So timing wise, it sounds like the Saturday of the 30th rather than Saturday the 23rd. Does that sound right?
I agree.
Okay, so we'll just do it on the 30th then.
Well, it's
Well,
going to
but I'll
still
be-
be contingent upon what the town's got set up.
For sure, yeah, for sure.
So, any more thoughts on the trees, anyone? We're gonna get $750. We're gonna look for donations. Everybody here is willing to donate, and Martha's gonna coordinate the flyer. And
You gonna order the trees, Frank?
yes, I'll place the order unless somebody else wants to do it. Just making notes. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
So moving along, past year, we really didn't have anything to do with the Farm Fest, guys. But we did talk about it, and it did occur in and around Pompey. I think it was called Onondaga County Farm Fest. Did anybody see that or hear about it or attend it?
Not me.
No.
Yeah.
Question, Frank?
Yeah, I think we were planning on doing something, but Onondaga County kind of took it over. So I think the town's involvement was somewhat limited, if I understand correctly.
Right.
The town had one farm that participated. It was Mr. Albany's up on Route 20.
Okay. Yeah, I saw there were probably 200 cars over there. He's my neighbor, so it was.
He had
pretty
over
fun.
1,000 people that day.
Yeah. How about from a ECC perspective? Is there anything that we?
Frank,
Relate to us? Yeah.
what the town had talked about, and I don't know whether it ever came to fruition, because I have a draft in front of me, was a Town of Pompey special events checklist. And I don't know if it was ever completed or not. I think the ECC might be able to, give Renee or the town board some input on environmental concerns. And this is just a special event. It's not necessarily the farm days, but any special event that might be held in the town of Pompey, and we can give them our recommendations or our feelings in writing this checklist.
Oh, very good point, Stan. You just refreshed my memory. That's where we were headed when this started. Renee had kind of thought that. And then as we looked into it, we found out that Onondaga County overrules us, and they already had all the rules and regulations in place for that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think it was just kind of a wait and see. And maybe review afterwards. I mean, I heard, I guess, pretty good things about the farm days. I know there was some opposition leading up to it, but I don't know what or how that ever worked its way out.
And that
But-
was a different event, right, Stan? That was up at Heritage,
Yeah, that was
Right.
Heritage. Yeah.
not this Onondaga County Farm Fest rather. So, yeah, I knew we had talked about that last year, so I put it on the past year's list. Also last year, the town passed the solar overlay district law.
Excuse me, Frank, I'm just not clear on what the Farm Fest is.
So they want to educate the public on activities on the farm, so to speak, Martha.
Okay,
Craig, you probably can speak better to this whole thing, but that was my understanding. A lot of folks that I saw next door brought their children out. They offered them some beef, they had free hamburgers or something. They got to walk around and look at the goats and whatever farm animals you might have. If it was at Craig's place, you could talk about calves and cows and milking and all that good stuff. Because a lot of the people, they're not educated about this stuff, Martha. And it's an interesting day for them to go out and say, oh, wow, that's how we get our eggs or we get our milk. Yeah, so I believe that's what it's all about, Craig. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, Farm Fest, you're real close, Frank, is sponsored by the Onondaga Ag Council. And the goal is just what you said, to get folks that haven't got a clue where their food is coming from out onto the farm, talking to the farmer. The farmers take advantage of it as a way to sell their product or promote their product. And the attendance, it keeps growing every year. Madison County has done one for years. Onondaga County started this, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and there's been a number of farms in the town of Pompey that have participated. Is that it? That clear it up, Martha?
and so is it held on one farm or a lot of different farms?
No,
The event,
multiple
Martha,
farms.
is held on usually 7 or 8 farms across Onondaga County.
You go on a like a farm crawl?
Exactly, right.
Absolutely. You get a
Exactly.
map and some folks try to hit all of them. Some folks try to do 1 or 2, but they all bring their kids and their family, and it's a good time. It's usually the 2nd or 3rd Saturday in September.
Oh, all right, sounds really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I was really amazed at the turnout. Oh, then we talked about the solar overlay district. Anything to throw in there from any of you guys on that? Stan, you seem to be up to speed on there was an application in.
There was an application in. I'm hearing there might be another application in. It went to, as far as the solar overlay district law, the first step is to go in front of the planning board. And their task is to make sure all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed. And if they deem the application worthy or whatever, then it goes back to the town board, and that's when we would get presented with it, and then ultimately back to the planning board to make sure it's all good. Their first application got denied. It wasn't a unanimous vote. I know that. I watched the meeting, and it was based on usable farmland is why they denied it. I guess getting into it, if that were the premise, then there aren't too many spots in Pompey that would be able to host a solar overlay district. So I don't know.
So when you say
Where?
the usable, not to interrupt you, but the usable farmland, you're saying,
Prime farmland. I don't know. I forgot. I don't know what the exact terminology is.
You're right, Stan. Onondaga County Planning has had a big push to the local municipalities not to give up prime farmland, meaning the land that yields the highest, to the
Right.
solar farms. I mean, if you have to, you have to, but if it can be avoided, the county has been encouraging that.
so you're thinking more fallow land, Craig, then, that's not
Well,
prime
when you look at your,
farmland.
when you look at your soils map, you always refer to, I mean, there's your honey oil loams and your silt loams, and if it's clay and not so good a soil, then the county's good with it, but it's, each case has to be reviewed by the town.
That makes perfect sense. Okay. So we'll look for those as they come in. Of course, we'll be asked to comment on them. There's a whole process, as you know, everybody that has to be adhered to, the seeker process, depending on what they're doing. It's not just the town involved, the state's involved, a lot of people are involved from a regulatory standpoint.
Well, the law itself was, there was a lot put into it, so it does give the town, I guess, a significant amount of muscle in terms of, and that's in what they want to do with it, based on, you know, its location, people that are for it, people that are against it, and that comes directly because the Tower Overlay District that I was involved in, initially the town really didn't have much say. So I think the law has been pretty well written, and we won't see anything. It goes to the planning board first, then goes to the town board, and that's when we would see an application, and there would have to be a solid application for us to even review it.
Correct.
And is the one that was turned down recently, was that the proposed farm on Sweet Road?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was where it did come up in terms of there are wetlands on those parcels, and but I think it was it had more to do with the refusal was because it's prime farmland. There's a lot of prime farmland there, and that was the concern of the planning board, or at least those that voted against the solar overlay.
And I know there was a lot of public opposition as well, so.
Yeah.
And did you say, Stan, it was unanimous?
It was not unanimous. It
Not
was not. I believe the vote was like 4-2, I believe,
Okay.
but I know it was not unanimous. But it did get turned down. So I don't know where the application stands at this point. I just I watched the meeting, and that was pretty much it.
Okay.
But I also have heard there might be another application, and then in talking with a few other people, they're based on just the substation capability. There might be a limited number of locations in the town of Pompey. So may not even have to do with prime farmland or not prime farmland. A lot of it has to do with the capability of the substations and the lines that they're connecting to.
Absolutely. That's what we learned last year watching.
That'll be the biggest limiting factor in the town of Pompey.
There were like 3 locations, I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
Where I would think it would be up your alley with the power that the lines could handle. But,
Well, I guess if I was an electrical engineer, that'd be true.
yeah, you worked from the environmental perspective at Grid, right?
That's right. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So, and then the ongoing conversation about cell towers. Currently, before I go to that, the solar overlay district, I believe the district law is you could view it on the town website, or you could get to it. So if you're interested, looking at that, Adam, I don't know, I believe it's up there, and if not, reach out to me. I think I have it on
I've got a copy of it as well, so I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you, Adam, if you had any questions. That part of my tower work, I helped in terms of with the solar overlay.
Okay, I definitely will let you know, Stan.
And Stanley has been very active in the cell tower.
Hey,
What do we
Frank,
wanna call it?
why don't we,
Inventory,
instead of saying cell tower, why don't you put tower overlay district? Because it's not just cell towers that we're talking about here.
True.
You have TV, you've got Doppler, you've got dishes, you've got radio, you've got the county tower. So I would just tower overlay district. And because there's two locations too. I think are the one on Sevier, which is obviously in my backyard, and then Indian Hill, I think, is the other one.
That's gonna be our ongoing project. And Stan has volunteered to kind of head that inventory.
Well, I mean, I don't know what meeting it was. I talked about, I don't know how many parcels are up there, but there are 10 structures is the way I put it down. And 10 structures and then 4 satellite dishes.
Yeah,
And you know, whether those are radio, television, cellular, you got the county tower up there. I could go through any or all of that if you want. We don't have it totally inventoried. We're trying to get a handle on who owns what. And then I believe 2 of the towers, or actually might even be 3 of the towers, are not active right now.
okay.
But I know at least 2 are.
And we sent out letters and we went through all that. So maybe one of these other meetings we'll go to an update, or we'll see where. Do you have anything to report on that right now, Stan?
Well, I mean, it just in terms of, I'm trying to map it all out. And
Okay.
a lot of these companies are not too receptive. You know, why are you calling? What do you want to know? And I think it lends to our point that, you know, obviously we're concerned. There's a number of concerns. I'm concerned about what they're giving off. You know, my thing was when the Doppler went up in my backyard, it doesn't admit any, you know, whatever radar emissions or any of that stuff. And then my simple rebuttal was, why does it have to be shut down when anybody's working in the tower? And if you look at all the signs up there, they say, you know, you can't go beyond the fence because, you know, radio waves and this, that, and the other thing. So part of, I know what the town is supposed to do is they're supposed to monitor it. I forgot what the time frame was. Initially, I thought it was 2 years, but it might be 4 or 5 years to see what they're giving off. And then the part 2 of this is what exactly is up there. I think my initial concern, there is a cell tower up there. It's owned by Verizon. You know, 10 years ago, there were 3 panels on it. Now there are 20. And, you know, when you start talking about panels, yes, it might be giving off more. But what do those panels cost? And from a tax basis in the town, if they are, I mean, you and me, we put an addition on our house and we get reassessed. So they're going under the guise of routine maintenance, but I know it's to go from 3G to 4G to 5G. And obviously those are substantial investments on their part. So should they be reassessed? When Channel 9 put their digital antenna on top of that tower, I know that was no small task and no small price tag. So from a tax standpoint, I don't think, you know, this has ever really been addressed. And then personally, I'd like to see the Tower Overlay District law just revisited to, again, give the town a little bit more strength or power when it comes to determining what's going up there.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, that's okay. So
A good overview, Stan. Thanks.
great, it was great, yeah. And then we visit this regularly because we don't have a lot on our plate. But that's great. So trying to get through this agenda here. How much time we got? Like 9 minutes, guys. So moving forward, as I've named it, We welcomed Adam, we did all that stuff. We've got the Earth Day planning. I called it Earth Day here, Martha. See, I didn't call it Earth Day. So we will continue to talk about that at our next meeting. I'd like in the March meeting or even maybe next time, come up with topics for future meetings, okay, as a group. And let me see, what we've been doing are those environmental education topics each week. A member has stepped up and discussed something of interest or something that they're passionate about. Phil did the bees and the pollinators, I should say, Phil, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And Martha, you did the carbon.
I never have done that. It hasn't.
Oh, you haven't done it yet. Oh, you
I'm
were
happy to do it. Happy to do it anytime. It just hasn't come onto the agenda yet.
Let's do it next time,
Okay,
okay? Because you were already prepared with it.
sure.
And what, and the actual
Carbon.
name,
Carbon pricing,
carbon pricing, okay?
Yeah. Putting a fee on fossil fuels, a federal fee on fossil fuels to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases,
Uh-huh.
because reducing emissions is going to be the most important thing we have to do to get climate change under control.
You could start a heated argument right there with a lot of people, I bet you. But I'd be curious to hear what it's all about and what you got to tell us. That'll be great.
Mhm.
Next time, I've got you down for carbon pricing. And does everybody like the idea of doing that at each meeting, a 10-minute or 5-minute presentation on something?
It's a nice idea. We tend to run out of time, it seems like a lot. So maybe it's one of those things like Martha, like I prepared the topic of the pollinators and Martha's talked about carbon pricing. Maybe it's something we can have one or two in our back pocket, so to speak. So if we have extra time at a meeting, we could do it. But I know, it seems like we always run out of time because we get, there's ends up being a lot of topics we end up discussing. So
Yeah.
Sure.
that's my only comment on that.
Okay, yeah, I like that, Phil. So maybe instead of open discussion at the end, if there's time left, we can say, okay, environmental topic of the week.
Mhm.
So everybody likes the idea. It's just a matter of so, and then some weeks we don't have much to talk about. So
Right.
we'll
Well,
figure that out as we go.
this big topic of, doing a natural resources inventory. I'm glad that you pointed out, Frank, that the ECC, the powers and duties of the ECC does point to the powers and duties include making an up-to-date inventory or index of all open spaces, natural landmarks, and so on. The idea of us doing that is an interesting one. I went to the DEC site on this on the sheet that you sent us.
Yeah, I've got that here as well. Yeah.
So down here is a DEC website, creating a natural resources inventory. A big 80 page document that I looked at this afternoon.
Okay.
It was made by the Hudson River Watershed Association or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Along with the DEC and and Cornell Cooperative. And it was So they made their own natural resources inventory, plus they made this 80-page document, which is sort of a how-to manual for other municipalities to use. If any town or county wants to do a natural resources inventory, there's this how-to manual that this group came up with. That's what I was looking at this afternoon.
Yeah, that's a huge undertaking. I think
It's a huge undertaking.
Yeah,
I mean, even at the smallest level, it involves mapping the town and the major,
I don't know.
the shorelines, the wetlands, the forest, streams, grasslands, shrublands, all
Yeah,
kinds of
I
things.
don't,
That would probably be a good topic for discussion at another meeting.
Mhm.
Only from the standpoint, at National Grid, we worked with a lot of those commissions. We worked with like the Lake George Commission, the Hudson Valley Commission. And they really, I'm not sure they did it all on their own. I think they hired a lot of consultants and they used,
Mhm.
some of the public resources that are out there already. I mean, there's a lot of information on natural resources already, as if you go to the New York State mapper, there's
oh yeah,
wetland.
there's the mapper and all that. So good
Right.
point.
So my guess is what they did, and I don't know this for sure, but I doubt 2 or 3 people at that commission did it.
Oh,
They
no,
probably
it was
hired
huge.
consultants. Yeah, they probably
Yeah.
hired consultants to gather a lot of that information together. So
Yeah.
I think it's a huge endeavor, and that's probably a good topic at a meeting that might take a good part of another meeting, to be
The
honest with you.
whole meeting just to come up with a plan.
Right,
Hey,
of what
Craig.
we need to do, because you don't want to duplicate what's already in public domain already.
Well, Craig, you mentioned soil maps. What do those show? What do the soil maps show?
They're already available
There are
everywhere.
maps
right?
out there of the specific types of soil in the area.
Would that give us some sort of overlay or beginning of what's out there? Or
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure when Frank refers to the mapper, there is a section in there, and I know there's a book up at the town hall of the soils in the town. I think that the number is like 38 different soil types in the town of Pompey. I could be.
Yeah, the Soil Conservation Service provides those up, and you can access any of them online for a specific area. We use it
Right.
with our work all the time, and Phil, you probably used it.
Yeah,
I could Go
exactly.
to your farm, Phil or Craig, and pull up the map of that area and look at all the soils that they're mapped, and they're relatively accurate. You have
Yeah. So that's why I just say we don't want to duplicate things that are already existing. And
Right.
maybe what some of these commissions did is take all the information and put it together in one spot for that county or that town. But again, I think it's a lengthy discussion that we could, like you say, Frank, it probably could take a whole meeting if we wanted to put that on the agenda for an upcoming meeting.
Right, so that was
Good
just
point,
like,
Phil.
as you're seeing my screen here, the inventories for natural and man-made features. That's been something that Renee repeats to me time and time and time again.
Yeah, that's in our charter. I think that was part of our charter, right?
Oh, it's in there, yeah, no
Yeah,
question.
right. Right.
It does
kind
seem
of
like something that would be so valuable for the town to have in a lot of different ways, but every time I look at the information about it, I'm kind of stumped as to how we could manage to do that as a bunch of, we're a varied group. I would have no skill
Right.
sets to help do any of this stuff, the mapping, the identifying wetlands. And I'm sure that it would take money. So just the how-tos of how we would do this is I think it would be a valuable thing, but the how-tos of how our little committee would do that or afford it. I don't know if the town would be willing to hire consultants to spearhead something like this or help us out with it. But that's why I brought it up.
Maybe
It's a-
that's some homework that we could take away from this meeting then tonight. We should wrap up here soon, but maybe we could all, because we don't have other things better to be doing, right?
Mhm.
Take a look at the master plan and see what how that addresses it, because I don't remember exactly, but just reminds me of this, Craig, you probably remember, we spent a lot of time working and offering comments to the master plan, and there's a lot of thought and energy that went into that. A lot of these terms that we're seeing right here on my page, the inventories and the viewscape, and those are in there. So maybe everybody should just kind of, if you have time, it might be worth looking at that. And we could come back next meeting and talk about this inventory that they're hoping we can kind of spearhead, if you will. I don't know the answer as to how we'd go about doing this, but we're talking about it, so that's a starting point, right?
Right. You talk about viewscape in letter E here, and I think that's a big hot topic when it comes to anything that we're talking about moving into the town. I mean, obviously we've got towers and that was an issue when they're putting them up, and the big thing with the solar overlay district is viewscape. So in terms of looking at that definition, and has it evolved or has it stayed the same?
I believe you're right, Frank. The master plan A talks about the view shed, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
but there are soil maps in the master plan and other maps that you talk about.
Right.
Sweet.
So, and yeah, Stanley, that hits home with me for sure. That's what I love about Pompey is driving around in the different views that we take for granted sometimes, you know. Driving by, not to pick on Craig, but looking at his beautiful farm when I drive by on my way to work every day, it's like, I wouldn't want to see some big ugly subdivision there or something, so. But, yeah,
The
so.
price is right.
Well, both the DEC and the APA have scenic byways, you know, so like Route 20, I think parts of Route 20 are a scenic byway. The APA definitely has scenic roads in the park. So we could take a look at what their definitions are of what they constitute as a scenic byway, and maybe see how that could apply to the view shed in Pompey.
Okay. So next meeting, then, we'll put this back on there, that maybe this, all 5 of these, just to kind of keep talking about this stuff. We didn't get very far through it.
I actually looked at that definition in the master plan today about view shed and scenic byways, and I copied the relevant paragraphs, and I'll just send it in an email to everybody who got the invitation for the meeting tonight.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then I listed our current projects. Any other open discussion? Anybody? Comments?
I guess one of my questions I had when I was reading through like the charter and some of these initial documents was obviously we are all part of a community here, and we're on this committee here and support the community. But my question was, what are the goals, or are we addressing any type of like levels of community engagement? I know with like the tree giveaway, that stuff is something that's very tangible and, you know, gives something active for the community to do. But outside of like that one day, do we have any goals or priorities for, you know, garnering feedback or participation from the rest of the town?
That's awesome. Awesome question, Adam. And we absolutely want to do this. We all, as a group last year, talked about this after the tree giveaway. Like, that was fun. Everybody enjoyed it. You know, we felt great about it. And we're like, what can we do next? What other ideas? So we need to look to each other for ideas. Anything that there's no bad ideas, right? So if people have something that, again, you're passionate about, and it could involve the community, I don't want to hit all the old things, but, garbage cleanup, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Recycling, I can't come up with all the ideas, but there's millions of things out there, right? That from an environmental perspective, where it would be nice to involve the town. During the
Adam,
pandemic, it's a little harder.
And Adam, one of the things that I was thinking about, and I was going to maybe wait till next week to bring, or next month to bring it up, since we're kind of out of time, but as far as like looking into, maybe we can put something on the town of Pompey's webpage. Right now, we just have under the ECC, just our meeting minutes and the agenda. But I looked at a bunch of other towns to try to see what they did, whether it be Lafayette, Otisco, Manlius, and different towns have different environmental information on their web pages. Not a lot, but some do. Like Manlius has a sustainability page that they call it, instead of environmental, they call it sustainability Manlius. And they have different education topics. And Lafayette has one too, where they have on their environmental conservation commission, they don't call it exactly that, but they have education topics about things like the wild parsnip, how to protect yourself, tick safety, recycling. So that's one of the things that I was thinking about looking into, and maybe you and I could do it together, Adam, is maybe to see if the town of Pompey would be able to put something on their webpage. And the difficulty, I know one difficulty with anything on a webpage is keeping it up to date. But so anyhow,
Right.
That was something I was thinking about as far as involving the community, because a lot of people, I think, look to their town for some guidance, and maybe we can summarize some of those things that are relevant to the town of Pompey. Again, like tick safety and giant hogweed, things that they might see around here versus just random environmental topics. So that was something I had a thought about. I was gonna bring it up at the next meeting, but I've been kind of researching that a little bit on my own to this point.
It
Yeah,
sounds like a
that'd be
good
great.
idea.
We can go back and forth and just, brainstorm a list of ideas and see which ones seem, the most relevant or the most applicable to start with.
Sure. Yeah.
So, okay.
Way to jump in, Adam. Great.
Thank you.
Way to jump in. Thank you.
So I say, did I get the date right? Next February the 17th, 7:00.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, and the other thing, guys, is 7:00 a good time for everyone? Do we want to change that? Thursdays were,
It's good for me.
yeah. How about for you, Craig? Is that a better time?
It works. Thursdays at 7 that's good.
Okay, okay. That's when that works for everyone. We'll keep it that way, and, always bring this stuff up at the meeting. Hey, this isn't a good day or time for me. And we can explore other ideas. And we will continue to meet virtually. As an environmental person, we're saving all this gas and fuel and everything else. It very much, honestly, guys, I like meeting in person. There's something to be said about meeting in person, but this works, and you don't have to go driving anywhere in this cold weather and whatnot. So,
One
we
request,
can-
Frank, you got to
we can
adjust your
meet.
headset so I can hear you.
Sorry. I'd like to get it set up so that I don't need my headset. But I'll try that. Yeah, so we can meet at the town hall if anybody expresses that interest. Just let me know.
I think virtually is good too. It's, especially in the winter, driving in this, it's nicer not having to go out in the cold and the snow and drive.
Mhm.
Okay, well, again, welcome, Adam, and we'll see everybody next Thursday. Or
Yeah, next month.
Next month. Yeah. At 7
Okay.
o'clock. Okay.
Thanks
Sounds
for-
good. Thanks,
All
guys. Have a good night.
Great night.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah,
Frank.
Bye, guys.
Take care.